for Gen.G. They don't want this much action. They don't want to face these picks they haven't seen that much before, like a Hecarim in there. It's a big, big issue that the team can't slow down games like they were actually really good at doing in the past and get to a point where Ruler can be a huge carry in teamfights. It's just not happening. And when you then put Crown on a carry and not utility, you're actually setting him up to fail almost, because you know he's not a great Syndra player, and he just got destroyed this game.
Yeah, you could definitely say he failed this game. Not much left for Gen.G as they try and defend their inhibitor turrets here. The Baron buff for Cloud9 doing some work, buffing up these minions. But Gen.G are clearing out the minions. They just need to buy time. They need to buy a lot of time, but that's it.
Just trying to imagine what Haru is thinking right now. The pressure to not press Flash and try to get an impale on a target that might be able to get away, or Svenskeren going in and tracking what his target will be and snap judgment if Cloud9 wants to get in.
I mean, I like that you mentioned Haru right here, because him and CoreJJ, they need the perfect engage in the next fight.
Right.
You almost have eye edge on Ruler. He's gonna be the late game hope for this team. And if you can take a fight here, if you get a good pick, let's say you hook Jensen without his QSS, you can actually kill him almost instantly. And that could stop C9 from winning. The problem is, there's such a high chance of you just losing, and you're already at your base.
So touch and go. What is the right choice? Do you let Cloud9 just keep pushing? Right now, it's going to be hard. We said that wave clear isn't there for Gen.G. Jensen now working on the bot side. The 1-3-1 from Cloud9. Very textbook as they're keeping themselves safe. Good call on the flash, making sure Sneaky is safe is imperative in these fights. On the hunt gives him a little bit of a move in that steroid or speed, but he can be caught by this Gen.G team. They're playing it very respectful here. And it looks like Jensen takes a bit too much damage. Stand United activated to the bot side, and Gen.G may feel like they have a bit of room to work with here, but they stay in base.
Yeah, Cloud9 have been very, very liberal with their cooldowns here. Sneaky flashing very early. They don't want any chance of getting caught and Gen.G coming back in this game. They also use Stand United there, but
it was on the clone.
Then Jensen's able to move it back in with a little bit of a bait there. In the end, though, they need to just reset and wait for their cooldowns. They have so much of a lead that they don't have to actually rush to finish this game, since they've done so much work up to this point, 30 minutes in, 10,000 and some gold lead.
And it's not like C9's comp doesn't scale. Like, they have Sivir on their side already, who obviously is a fantastic late game carry. Their current LeBlanc as well, with so much upfront burst, is also going to be strong in these big fights. But the only thing for Gen.G is just Ruler for me. And like, he got eye edge now, and the only way I see them get back in this game is through him.
It probably won't be through the level 14 Syndra to the level 17 LeBlanc. What a shutdown they put on mid lane here, and it's really been the ability for Cloud9 to push pressure forward across all lanes on the map because of what Jensen was able to do in mid lane.
I also really like the Banshee's Veil purchase for Jensen on LeBlanc. When you're this far ahead and you have that much burst damage, all you need is the safety to be able to go in for a combo. We saw previously one single combo from him takes Crown down to maybe 200 HP. And if he's got the Banshee's Veil to block that point-and-click stun from Skarner or the knockback stun from Syndra, then it really does open up a lot of options here for Cloud9 to push forward.
Yeah, and if you are Crown, like, what do you want to build next? Like, ideally you want to get some more damage with like a Void Staff in there, but at the same time you also really want Hourglass, because there's so many champions diving at you where you need to survive during the ulti, like a Hecarim flying in, of course a Nocturne as well. So he's kind of stuck in a really rough situation, and that's just sad for him. When you play Syndra, there's so little you can do with the champion when you fall behind against all these long-range engaged champs. He's limited in what he can do.
And he already has to look at half of the team buying a ton of magic resistance. Paranoia goes off as Svenskeren and Licorice are both in the middle of the fight. That's going to be big damage onto Ruler. CoreJJ's trying to do what he can to split up the fight. Ruler down on your bottom left, firing in the damage is Sneaky now in a very bad spot. Cube's got a good hit there as that's Ruler's kill to be picked up. Haru falls, and Gen.G look at Cloud9 for a few more kills, but want to save the base as well.
For Gen.G, that is a good trade. They get the marksman off the table here for Cloud9 in exchange for their jungler, for Haru. That does kind of stall it out a little bit and allow them some more breathing room.
And this is why we keep saying, look at Ruler, look at Ruler. He needs to stay alive in the fights. He can turn around and deal proper damage. Has to use everything to survive, but they did manage to get that kill on Sneaky, who used the flash much earlier during the Baron siege when he saw Haru move towards it.
Those little things.
For the next team fight, Ruler, though, used both of his summoners in this one. So the next one, C9 will be looking at him once again. Nocturne, Shen, ultimate cooldowns much shorter, as well as the Hecarim looking to dive him. And Ruler will only be able to rely on his own ultimate.
That is very true. Obviously, on the other side, Jensen used Flash in the fight. He actually used Svenskeren and Stazel as well. So a lot of summoners missing for them. Crown had everything ready. He didn't get to fully join the fight because he was actually a little bit too far away. But it does mean he gets to save everything for the next one. Gen.G are trying to hold on.
Yeah, this next one will be critical. Can Gen.G make a comeback as Baron number 2 is now on Summoner's Rift? They're trying to push up some defensive vision here through their jungle. It's very scary to try and face check into this area, though.
Super dark, just on the other side of that river. They know Sneaky's there, so he's delivering pizzas across the wall, and Gen.G tries to move in. Haru behind Cuvée here. Got to be a sad Scorpion. He has not been able to impale many targets this game, or any, if you've really been watching hard enough. And now they get a little bit of vision on to Baron, as this could really make or break the way the game is swinging.
Licorice is setting up for a teleport. Look at the Hecarim in the fountain right now. There is a deep ward behind all of Gen.G right now in the middle of the mid lane. It's about to time out, though.
There's one right behind them as well at that Raptor pit, just on the right side if they want to get a pin from both Fog of War, and he's going to be able to run out of base right down the lane to meet his team.
So they didn't actually go for the engage here. Ruler without Flash, of course, is the target. Licorice is moving around the flank here. He will get spotted by this ward in the river. But here we go.
Paranoia goes down. Licorice is going to be the first one in. Stand United goes on to him. Crown's very low as he gets 2 members of Cloud9 immediately. Haru is able to get himself into the middle and disrupt Svenskeren and the rest of the team. And there is the kill. Crown still going to be able to deliver damage. We're looking at Gen.G on the bot side as they drop Svenskeren. And now Cloud9, who had the initiation on the fight. The use of Svenskeren's ultimate cannot lock down the kills they need.
Insane double stun here from Crown to survive, and Ruler. What? Only his ultimate allows him to stay upright. They get the counter kill, and Gen.G are fighting their way back.
Yeah, it's crazy they're able to do this. 2 fights in a row. They get a kill against C9 and force the team away. They were 10,000 gold down. Their carries were going to get instantly collapsed on in every single team fight, but they managed to hold on. Baron is being started. Gen.G, are you moving in time? They're coming now. Haru, called JJ.
Teleport.
Has to happen. Baron's going to be going low, down to just below half right now. Haru's going to be there. Smite is up for him, but Flash is not. They're turned away immediately as Licorice is in the front of the fight, being the meat wall. Haru's gone. No 50-50. Sneaky picks up Baron. Gen.G's getting run out of the river, and there goes Licorice. Right into the fight. It's going to be Zazel locking down onto Cuvée. Cuvée falls. Cloud9 can look for the Nexus.
They have a bit of doubt, but counter punch here from Cloud9. Back to the Baron. They started up immediately, and with those kills, they will push inside the base.
Oh, they got everything. They finally get it. It wasn't a big team fight in the end. It was just catching individual members at that Baron, but C9, fantastic early game, fantastic mid game, and they finish it here.
Coming out swinging from the beginning. 13-5, 36 minutes in. Cloud9 puts the finishing touches on the Nexus turrets, and the Nexus will follow. Cloud9 takes down Gen.G.
And they do it with their own style. Some Cloud9 innovation. They were the first ones in the North American LCS to use the Shen Nocturne combination, and Licorice was able to find the Hecarim counter pick into Aatrox during the gauntlet. Coming out on top here does so much for the rest of the day and the way that this group will stand.
We just watched the NA 3rd seed stop the defending world champions. Gen.G absolutely hate facing C9 and Vitality in this group, because these picks and the playstyle where they're just going aggressive, it's really punishing them.
No fear from Cloud9 or Vitality, and they take the first 2 wins of the day.
And these are such turnarounds because you know Cloud9 was smashed by Gen.G and RNG the first time around, so they were able to resync, find the way through, and we're getting a lot more plays out of individual players and the team coming together now from all regions.
And remember, Gen.G, they play the next game against Vitality. They don't even have a lot of time to go backstage and reset, discuss everything.
That's right.
You're going to face a team that will go even harder in the early game at you. All right, fine. As hard as C9 in this game.
I would be most worried specifically about Crown individually because, like you mentioned, there's not a lot of time for him to reset. This is where the team needs to come and solidify themselves around Crown, kind of encourage him, get him back to an even keel.
A few pats on the back. We'll see how they come around to get more insight on how Cloud9 took down the reigning champs. Let's head over to the analyst desk.
Man, we'll see what we can do for you guys, but this day is turning out to be nothing like we thought it would. Cloud9 with a huge victory over Gen.G here to keep things increasingly more interesting in this group.
I mean, it's been insane to see the MSI champion fall to Vitality, and now last year's world champion is falling here to Cloud9, and you have to love the similarities between these last two games. It's two of these teams who are big underdogs, playing their own style, playing their own picks, and really taking it to their opponents. They are not backing down. They are not playing scared at any point throughout the game.
And complete credit to Cloud9 in this game. I think it's a well-deserved victory. It didn't even require a lot of innovation. Yes, the Hecarim is non-standard by a larger meta point, but of course, already revealed by Licorice. We have the draft on the screen. I definitely first took umbrage with the approach that Gen.G took, specifically with Crown drafting the Syndra. Already revealed at the time was the LeBlanc, and Syndra's kind of, maybe at best, like a 40% into that matchup, 40%, 40 to 60, 35%. All I'm trying to say is it's definitely not a winning matchup, right? At the end of the day. So it's a confidence matchup, something he played very well last year, but he hasn't really been turning to this year. And again, it's into the Nocturne as well. So you're already kind of a sitting duck. And yes, with ganks, things can happen. But I think it's a very optimistic thing for Crown, who first didn't play a lot of Summer, came in largely on supportive champions, and then tries to play for his lane. To me, this is very far away from the win conditions I would set out for Gen.G, so I was surprised to see it.
And very much aligned with the win conditions set out for Cloud9. Mark called for it at the top of the day. He wanted to see aggression from Svenskeren in the early game, particularly towards that mid lane. Crown being susceptible to some pressure, and Jensen himself doing some styling before that.
Yeah, I mean, Jensen played incredibly well in the 1v1, getting the solo kill, and this time
almost the cannon getting him back, though, man.
Cannon almost got 2 games in a row, and this, they really did play a lot to what we talked about. You know, the 3 kind of things I wanted them to be able to do: stability in the bot lane, jungle and mid playing well together, a winning top side for Licorice. They got the picks they needed, and they really were able to execute.
And you just watch this, everyone is different. A solo kill into the jungler coming to the top laner roaming down. That's the reality of Syndra. You are this sitting duck if the matchup doesn't go your way. And that meant that mid lane was pretty vacated, and the gold lead Cloud9 built up. It was 10,000 very quickly.
And I've got to give credit, I think, to Cloud9. I think that the Shen picked where it was made a lot of sense as a flex pick to open up for putting that top and playing, you know, through a more stable lane there, or bringing it down to the bottom lane, saving their last pick for counter for the top. And, you know, we were kind of thinking, hey, Urgot has made its way all the way through draft. It's likely going to be the Urgot. But it's actually the first time in all of Worlds that it goes unpicked, unbanned, and it is the Hecarim, which does pay off.
Yeah, very much so. And part of this whole go-forward mentality and strategy is it does mean that sometimes you hit a brick wall. And I do think, to some degree, we have to acknowledge that Gen.G, for a portion of that game, was able to put up a very solid defense. We saw multiple fights end in either no kills or a 1-for-0 or a 1-for-1, and C9 really started to seem to stall out until a very impressive Baron call out of them off of some recall timing and some good vision control.
I mean, this began with the side of Gen.G repelling some aggression, kind of winning a fight or splitting even, so you might think, okay, they can full reset and then fight. Instead, Cloud9 understand that's going to be a very slow process. They start up the Baron, and you notice the vision here. Gen.G understand they have to be safety first. They cannot face check rush.
Yeah, and this is on the back of a double Mountain Dragon, I do believe, which really gave them the confidence to do this. So as Licorice comes in, they can turn, they can remove the smite from the map, guaranteeing that Baron. But certainly credit to Gen.G for being 10k down, taking multiple fights in a row that went very even. And I think Ruler had a strong game for himself on the Xayah. But he was kind of put so far behind by Crown in the mid lane.
And we sold Gen.G, then Samsung Galaxy last year, as this shield team. They need to take their time, scale up, and in an ardent sense of meta, More often than not, that happened. This year, when we see Haru and Crown, they were much about neutralizing, empowering Haru at the start, and then Ruler will get the job done later. That's why I wanted to see Karma, Lulu, neutralizing mid laners that might not get kills, might not even be up in CS, but will be fine so that when those team fights roll around, you can style on the enemy. They were so far behind that they needed every team fight to go their way just to stay in the game.
Right, and it's that prowess on that style, though, which is why no one has wanted to count Gen.G out up to this point. But they now move to 1-3, and so it gets very scary for this squad as they look at their remaining 2 matches today and chances at getting out of this group.
I mean, you still have to play RNG, and yeah, RNG did lose today against Vitality, but you can't count on another loss there.
On a very simple point, they don't seem to know where their bread is buttered. They're not playing how I think they're going to win games, so I can't see it happening.
Well, Cloud9 picked up the victory. They did it with that Hecarim in the top lane, and although it may not have been the reason for the victory, we want to toss it over to Mark Z to help about how it plays. So if we can get into some of the laning phase, Hecarim main ability is his Q, and it actually has a relatively high mana cost at 30, which doesn't sound that crazy, but it has a stacking component where you want to get to 3 stacks before you are fully empowered and the cooldown gets dropped, and that's going to cost you about 90 mana. You throw in your W cost as well, and it starts getting relatively expensive to trade. But what Hecarim does is you're going to take a Mana Flow Band as well as Time Warp Tonic, and you start with Corrupting Pot, so you actually have really good mana sustain. That allows you to get through some of the laning phase problems. Also against Aatrox in particular, you do have Phase Rush to help you get out of some of the ganks, which is what your biggest concern is when you're not taking Flash and taking TP Ignite. And then later on in the game, you actually scale super, super well with Hecarim. He scales well with gold and with levels. So as long as you don't get hard punished by ganks, you outfight him in the early game, and then you often are able to outfight him in team fights as well. And that's why, for me, Hecarim is one of these picks that I hope we start seeing a lot more over the course of the tournament because we have so many great top laners here. Anyways, those are my thoughts on that one unique pick. Now, before we go to break, let's send it over to Shox for an interview with our MasterCard player of the game, Jensen.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm here with Jensen. Whoa, what is going on today? You guys just beat the reigning world champions, Gen.G. How do you feel and how did you do it?
Honestly, I'm a bit, I don't know, ecstatic from that game. Like, it was a very hype game, and like, we pretty much just need to win almost every game, or at least 2 of our games to advance. So there's a lot on the line, and I think for me personally, I just wanted to play something where I felt like I had a bigger impact myself. So that's kind of the side we went for against Gen.G.
Do you think the advantage you had in the lane, the way you played that lane, and honestly the way you beat Crown, is that what really opened up the game for you guys?
That's how we had all our control throughout most of the game. And yeah, I think we could have snowballed a bit better. But I think, yeah, overall, like, because of the pressure, we had all the control throughout the entire early and mid game, so it was very difficult for them to play the game.
You just said that you were really stressed, but as you say, you still have these other games left to win. I was talking to Attila before, and he said it doesn't matter what people think is going to happen or what the statistics are or the odds are. It's about playing your own game, and I feel like you guys did that today with the Hecarim top and with you on that strong champion. Do you think that's the key also for you guys going forward?
Well, I thought the comps we played in our other games were also like part of our strength as a team, but it just seemed like it didn't work out for us, like maybe due to nerves or something. So we made a lot of mistakes. So this time around, I played something where I felt like I could control the game much more myself, and I think it played out pretty well for us, yeah.
I mean, it was wonderful. You guys are back on the board. You're still in the game. And unfortunately for that whole EUNA clash, it looks like it may come down to that rematch versus Vitality and also that important game versus RNG. What are your expectations for those 2 following games?
Well, Vitality is looking pretty strong right now, and I think we have a pretty good idea on how they play the game. So it's going to be a pretty bloody game if both teams wants to play these aggressive playstyles. But I think we're the better team.
And finally, can I get some words about the fact that coming into the World Championship and you got drawn into this group and it's like, oh, it's the group of death, this is RNG, Gen.G, no matter what. Why do you think everything has turned so much on its head and you guys showed up?
The gap is closing, maybe? I don't know. I mean, I think Korea is not playing as well as they did like in the past. I mean, it could also just be that other regions have improved a lot. It's hard to say, but I think Korea, especially right now, is like not looking too dominant besides, KT, obviously. So I don't know. I think it's hard to say exactly.
Okay, well, Well, maybe they just got clapped by Jensen. Who knows? Well, thank you very much. Congratulations. The best of luck in your following matches. Small break coming up for us because Gen.G is back on the board versus Vitality in 3.5. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back for Game 3, where Vitality and Gen.G load onto the Rift for Game 3. It has been a spicy day so far for games. Pretty big upsets that we've seen so far coming in, and we have to think, is Gen.G ready to reset their mentality coming off a loss from Cloud9?
Yeah, and technically, we determine if it's an upset or not by the standings coming into the game. So technically, if Gen.G beat Vitality, that would be an upset now.
Yeah, I mean, to your question, Riff, can they reset? I think they've made the most important change, which is put Ambition back in the lineup. You need a leader right now. You need someone who can communicate with the rest of the team. Kikis looks a little bit focused. There's Ambition, of course, coming into the jungle. At first, I was like, oh, that's Ambition on the screen, but that was Kikis.
He's ready to rise.
Basically, also a veteran, but getting a leader, a shot caller, is very important for this team now when you don't have a break, because this is a must-win game. Lose here to Vitality, Gen.G are out of Worlds.
As we were talking about kind of at the end of the last game, specifically for Crown, They are definitely going to need to play to him in Champ Select, try and get him a much more comfortable